هي مساء الخير. أنا نيلي الزيات من نيوتن Education Services. إحنا هنبتدي حالا بس مستنيين to make sure everybody is logged in before we get started. Thank you. All right, I think we can get started. My name is Nelly Zayed. Again, I'm the co-founder and director of Newton Education Services. I want to make sure you can all hear me. If you can type in the chat or give me a thumbs up if you can all hear, because I know you don't see your mic or your camera, but that's okay. That's the way the webinar is set up. All right, good. Thank you, Elizabeth. So thank you again for being here. This is our first webinar on the LSE-Sawiris Scholarship Program. I'm very honored to be here with my fellow panelists tonight for this webinar. We have Nadia Al-Ashqar from the Sawiris Foundation. Nadia is the Senior Programs Officer at the Sawiris Foundation. Nermeen Abdallah is the Executive Masters of Science Program Manager at LSE Cities at the London School of Economics. And last but certainly not least, we have Mr. Ahmed Rida, who is the first alumnus of the LSE-Sawiris Scholarship. And he is currently the Associate Minister for Industrial Affairs at the Ministry of Trade and Industry here in Egypt. So we will be hearing from everyone on the panel tonight. Just before we get started, there is a Q&A tab that you will find either at the top or at the bottom of your screen. So please type in your questions there. I think we will cover most of your questions during the presentation, but if we don't, we will make sure to get back to you and make sure we answer all your questions. So with that, we're gonna get started. For tonight, this is the plan, sorry. Can you all see the screen? Okay. So we're gonna just give you a quick overview about the Sawiris Foundation scholarship programs and about this particular program, LSE-Sawiris Scholarship. And then we will talk to you, Nermeen will talk to you about the LSE program, the academic program itself. We'll also let you know about the scholarship eligibility criteria, the timeline and the selection process, along with the terms and conditions of the program, the scholarship program. And then finally, the fun part of this information session, we will hear from Ahmed Rida about his experience applying to the program, attending the program, and then after the program, how the program continues to help him in his professional career. And then we'll take questions and answers through the Q&A tab. So with that, I'll hand it over to Nadia to talk to you about the Sawiris Foundation.
Thank you, Nelly. Hello, everyone. Like Nelly has just told you all, I'm from the Education and Scholarships team at the Foundation. Before we deep dive into the specifications of the scholarship and the program itself, we thought we'd give you a small brief about who we are, what sort of work we do at the Foundation. So the Foundation started in 2001 with an endowment from the Sawiris family. With the sole goal to reduce multidimensional poverty in addition to empower agents of change. And we work with 3 technical sectors: economic empowerment, which works on training for employment, and social empowerment that works on women empowerment and children without shelter, and education and scholarships that works on pre-primary education, basic education, higher education, and technical vocational education. Can we go on the next slide? Yeah. So one of the scholarships that's very dear to our heart at the Foundation is the LSE-Sawiris Scholarship. And the scholarship is offered to 2 students per year to study their MSc in cities from the London School of Economics. And the scholarship is a fully funded scholarship, so it covers the full tuition fees, the travel fees from going from Cairo to London, and the living costs in London when you're there, which includes accommodation and health insurance. And up to date, we've had 2 scholars, and the program is administered by Newton Education Services.
Thank you, Nadia. And we'll now hand it over to Nermeen to talk to us about the academic program at LSE.
Thank you, Nelly and Nadia. Hello. Before I get to the program itself, I thought it might be useful to talk a little bit about where the program is based. So the program is run out of a research center called LSE Cities, which is part of the London School of Economics. Cities is a leading international research center that has informed global urban practice for the last 16 years. And we use the center's global network of city leaders and our own leading specialists and faculty to put the latest groundbreaking research into business and public action. And so as part of that initiative, we have the Executive Masters in Cities, which we run. It is a 18-month program and is interdisciplinary and is specifically for, as the name denotes, it's an executive program. And so it is specifically for qualified professionals to study while working, to gain insights into how cities can be better managed, governed, planned, designed, and while leading to understanding and deliver how to deliver these vital changes. So the program itself is 18 months in length. The first year focuses on teaching. And so there are 5 one-week residential sessions that take place in London. We refer to them as modules. And so we, because it is a part-time degree and because you are working, we release lectures and content for each teaching week ahead of the residential sessions. So that gives you some time to get into the materials, understand what it is that you will be covering in the sessions, and then you come to London and you have live teaching with our faculty as well as your classmates. Some of your classmates will be online because the program is hybrid, which is not something that is specific to this scholarship. But you will have over the academic year, about 150 years of face-to-face contact time with faculty, which include LSE academics and visiting global fellows, as well as various government officials from around the world. Where in fact, we're planning a public lecture next year with a mayor of a major city. So that's something, resources and things that you will have access to as part of this program. The program brings together these experts from across the university and the global network to train the urban leaders of tomorrow, which are you. Just one final note about the program is that once you have done the academic portion, the teaching portion of the 5 residential sessions, you then do a urban consultancy project. And so that is really the capstone project of the degree program. And you can embed with your existing company, or we can help you partner up with another organization, and you can complete the urban consultancy component of the program through there. That's the program in a nutshell. Would you mind changing to the next slide? Thank you. As it says on the screen, the sort of why is this program an advantage to you? What is the big appeal? The Executive Masters in Cities brings together experts from across the world. And it builds on our interdisciplinary urban research program. It allows you to work while studying because we disseminate our lectures in a devolved and asynchronous format through a platform called Learn Worlds. You get to access your materials and you get to prepare in advance of lectures at your own pace and at your own time. We have lots of face-to-face contact time with faculty and instructors. We have an amazing, if I do say so myself, professional services team on hand to support you. And the program itself, as I said, consists of 5 short sessions, as well as a 6-month individual consultancy. I will add one thing about the courses themselves, and you can see more about the courses that we offer on our website, and I'll send through a link in a second. We have a variety of courses that look at things like economic development, social cohesion, and design. You also have some options in the courses that you can take. In the 5th session, you can choose one of 2 courses. So there's some flexibility that you can choose the type of course that you want based off of your particular interests. I'll hand it back to Nelly now.
Thank you, Nermeen. Thank you so much. So now we will move on to talk about the eligibility criteria for the LSE scholarship. Here are the criteria listed on the screen. The candidates applying to this scholarship have to be Egyptian nationals. They have to have graduated from university, so they have to have had a bachelor's degree. There is an English proficiency requirement for this program, so either a valid TOEFL or IELTS score. And here are the minimum scores are listed here for the TOEFL and for the IELTS. So it's one or the other. It's not, you don't need to do both. It's just one or the other. And if you already have an IELTS or TOEFL score, if it's not, if it's less than 2 years old at the time of the start of the program, which is October, then you should be okay if you meet the minimum required scores. For professional background, there is a requirement for this scholarship that that is a minimum of 10 years of professional experience in an urban related field. And the candidate needs to be currently working for a public government or a third sector organization in Egypt, meaning a public sector position or a NGO, local NGO here in Egypt. So these are the criteria for the scholarship. In terms of the required documents for the scholarship application, because I want to be very, very clear that there are 2 separate applications for this program, or for a candidate to apply to this program in full. So there is an application for the scholarship, and then there is another application for the program, the university program itself. And each of those has a different, not very far away deadline. We will talk about the timeline shortly. So we just want to be very clear that there are 2 different applications that you need to work on. So for the Sawiris scholarship application, there is a link for the application that we will be sharing with you on the chat here at the end of the session. And you need to, in that application, there's a personal statement that you need to work on and submit as part of your application. We need a copy of a valid passport, a copy of your national ID, updated resume, your transcripts of any degrees you've had, undergraduate or graduate, TOEFL or IELTS score, 2 letters of recommendation, and a photo. So, and all of the documents that are required here, you will upload to your application. And like I said, we will paste the link to the application in the chat. As for the LSE application, there's another set of required documents, which there will be overlap, but you will need to send those separately to LSE, and Nermeen will talk to you about the details of the LSE application required document.
Yes, so as Nelly said, there is going to be some overlap here in terms of the required documents for the LSE application, and the requirements for the program itself are, as Nelly said, also the requirements for the scholarship. I will focus on a few key things in particular as part of the LSE application, just to make sure that you are aware of the specific requirements for the LSE application. So as you will need a CV or a resume that we ask that you upload as a PDF. You will also require a statement of purpose that we ask you to upload as a PDF as well. A couple of notes about the statement for the LSE application specifically. Your statement should describe your academic interest in, your understanding of, and suitability for the Executive Masters in Studies program, as well as your purpose and objectives in applying for the scholarship in the program. And that your statement should also be should be typed and no longer than 2 sides of A4 paper. I'm not sure what size paper you use in Egypt. But there isn't a fixed word limit, but we expect that the statement shouldn't be any longer than 1,500 words. You will also require copies of transcripts and degree certificates that you've listed on your CV And it's very important to note that if you've listed on your CV and if you've listed it on your on the application, you will be asked to provide copies and proof of the degree certificates should you be made an offer. And we'll get to that in a moment. You will also be required to provide 2 references. We ask that you do not upload those references. You need to only nominate your referees as part of your application. LSE will then reach out to your referees and ask them to complete a form. So you shouldn't upload any references, and neither should and then your referees will fill out the form. A key bit of information in regards to the referees, we ask that you ask them to use a professional email address rather than a personal email address. And the reason we do that is because our admissions team will then have to verify a personal email address, which will take time. And so you don't want anything that's going to delay the processing of your application. You want it to be processed as soon as possible so that it can then be reviewed and a decision made as soon as possible. So we ask that you, when nominating a referee, use a personal email address. And then I do have to flag that there is an £80 application processing fee that you do have to pay for when applying to LSE. There is a form, and I will post the link in the chat in a moment. There is a form where you can have the waiver, the fee waived, but it is not a guarantee. So take a look at the link and the guidance in the form, and if you do qualify and it is something that you think that will be suitable for your needs, I suggest that you complete the form and submit the waiver. But once again, it's not a guarantee. And so I did say that I would revisit Nelly, do you mind just going back 1 slide, 1 second, just so I can remember my point?
I'm trying to do that, but something happened here and I apologize. It just jumped to the slide and I've been trying to go back, but I'm not sure why it's not going back.
Not a problem. So I think the thing that I was going to say was about the English language requirements and the requirement to add to provide proof of your degree certificate and your transcript. So the way the LSE application process works is you submit your application, it's processed, the department then reviews it and makes a decision, and then the university either makes you a conditional or an unconditional offer. And so I just want to clarify the terminology there. So regardless of whether you have received a conditional or an unconditional offer, you will have to provide proof of those things. So you will have to provide proof of your English proficiency and your degree certificates and transcripts. So I just want to clarify that if you do receive an offer and if you do receive an unconditional offer, that you will still need to provide proof of those documents. So just to clarify that terminology. So that's it for me on the application form, and I will send through those links in a moment.
Thank you, Nadmeen, and I apologize to you and everyone else for the slides jumping around the screen. We will now go on to the timeline of the scholarship. So like I mentioned earlier, there are 2 separate applications here. So we have the scholarship application, which is due on April 7th, and the university program application, which is due on April 20th. So they're not too far apart, but they are 2 separate applications, and you have to meet the 2 separate deadlines. Those who are shortlisted will be invited for an interview around early May. And then the announcements of the scholarship recipients will be in June 2023. The program begins in October and then ends in June 2024. So that's roughly the timeline that we're talking about. Again, I know I don't think we can say this enough. Please know that there are 2 separate applications and that each of them has a separate deadline. So you need to complete your scholarship application first by April 7th and then complete the program application by April 20th. I'll hand this over back to Nadia to talk about the terms and conditions of the scholarship.
Thank you, Nelly. So the terms of conditions of this of the scholarship of the LSE scholarship are the same for all of the scholarships that are offered by Sawiris Foundation. So number one is to complete your studies on time, which I think is pretty basic across all scholarships, and also to come back and work in Egypt for 2 years after graduation. Now, we're not specifying for you to come back and work in Orascom or Sawiris Foundation or any other company owned by the Sawiris family, but we just want you to benefit your country with what you've learned from abroad and come back and be agents of change, which is a part of our strategy, and create a difference. So that's why we're not doing it because we're trying to limit your options and move back, but we're actually trying to have you come back and create change in whatever respective field you want to come back and work in. And also the program is only offered to students that would like to study in person, not remotely. So if you would like to study remotely, you could apply for the program without the scholarship, but the scholarship is only offered to students that would like to study in person.
In person for the sessions in
for the
London,
session.
but there
Yes.
are the rest of it will be remote. So
Yes.
but there isn't-
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, just to reiterate that the teaching weeks as a condition of the scholarship need to be
Yes.
attended in person rather than remote. As you do research about the program, you will see that we do offer something called hybrid flex. And so you will have classmates that will have opted to attend the teaching weeks remotely, but unfortunately, as a part of the scholarship, you do need to attend in person.
Exactly. And instead of reading out Ahmed's profile, we would like to hear more from him. And as Nelly has just said, Ahmed is the Associate Minister of Industrial Affairs at the Ministry of Trade and Industry in Egypt. And Ahmed, it would be amazing to hear about your experience and sort of the whole program.
Well, thank you, Nelly, and thank you, Nadia, Nermeen, Heba, Nihal. I mean, I can't say enough about this program, to be honest. Let me start from the beginning. I was, at the time, I was the advisor to the Minister of International Cooperation and Investment. That's when I applied, actually. Well, at the time, I think I had a condition that I think you guys are pretty lucky, or I'm happy that that hasn't been mentioned, which is having a 2-year contract with your employer, but not staying in Egypt for 2 years. Staying in Egypt for 2 years was the easy part. To me, it was the passion. This is where I wanted to stay. This is where I wanted to spend my experience. But on another hand, I was very unlucky because we had a ministerial shuffle at the time, and I was unlucky to be able to get a contract, secure a contract with my ministry at the time. So, but on the other hand, I think it was good fortune because the minute I received the news that I'm an LSE student, or I'm an LSE candidate right now for cities, I got a new job offer as Associate Minister for Industrial Affairs at the Ministry of Trade and Industry. Ever since then, well, apart from the global issues, I've been doing very well, and I really love what I'm doing. And let me tell you, very briefly, how did this help? First, on the professional level and the networking level, you'll see that you'll be meeting people from all around the world. You'll be having your colleagues we had colleagues from Chicago, from Washington, D.C., from Colombia, from Canada, Toronto, and from Asia, Singapore. We had people from Pakistan. We had Australia, and of course, we had a few from Europe, even a friend from Ukraine, who I was very lucky to meet during COP27, where we were not able to meet during the course itself, either due to the COVID. I was the, let's say, the COVID team, and also also the team that was very unlucky then with even when it came to the graduation, he wasn't able to attend because of the Russian-Ukraine war. But we still met at the COVID 27 in COVID 20 in COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh, which was amazing, to be honest. And let me tell you, the experience is outstanding. Going through the course is something. Learning the tools, the different experiences, working on a common project. You'll need the language. Everyone will come in place. You will see that the instructors at LSE are really out of the world. I mean, that's something else. I mean, they know how to put everyone together, how to make the best of everyone, how to get the best out of everyone. And at the end of the day, you see how things are complementing each other, how you are really creating a difference. When it comes to the part when you're, when it comes to the part where you're really working on a group project together, which is the last part before working on an individual project, you see the difference. You see how things come together. You see how you will have to take charge of things, how you really have to speak your mind, and you're not afraid to do so, and you'll be learning so much. At certain points you feel that other people are really more educated than you are, but at a certain other point you see that you do make a difference, and the part where you make a difference is something that they cannot be very good at. And sometimes it's that coordination body that really makes a difference. And whatever you think your strength point is, make sure that you will see points of development, that you will see areas of development, and you really love what you're going to be doing. You really love the team, the group. I think you guys are luckier than my team and my group, because my cohort, we were stuck with COVID. And while stuck with COVID, we had to do most of the sessions online. I mean, by most, I mean almost all of them. And that was very challenging, both to the university and to us. And obviously we did come through it. We only met in person, all of us, at graduation. And in graduation, let me tell you, it's beyond prestigious. I mean, you're going to be an LSE graduate. Walking through the streets of London, and I'm not just talking about walking to LSE, but actually walking through the streets of London, having your cap and gown, you know you're something special. Everyone knows you're special. And I was very lucky when I met my friends, my colleagues, the day before graduation, and we were sitting together. It was as if we've known each other for years. We've worked. They will tell you, and I'm sorry, Nermeen and Nadia, to say this, but they will tell you that you will only be studying for a certain amount of hours per week. That's not the case. You'll be studying for far more hours than this. And that's because you will have to make up for so much, because you know the challenge ahead of you is much bigger than this. But all of this will seem like a very sweet piece of cake and a very nice treat the minute you're sitting in the Peacock Theatre and graduating and listening to your president and the executive director of the university of LSE. I was lucky to have Minouche Shafiq as the executive director. I remember it felt like I've never have ever been educated before. I mean, I am a graduate of AUC. I did have Six Sigma, and I did have a lot of courses abroad, but that was something else. Standing and sitting there, listening to her speaking about 18 Nobel Prizes and 35 something prime minister and head of states, not even mentioning ministers. I mean, that meant something. She's a baroness. Now she's the president, the first female president of the Columbia University. So you do know, I mean, the amount of prestige and knowledge you'll be getting from this place. Honestly, I urge you to do your best and to really fight for this, because even when I even moved from a position as an international cooperation, which is looking at a very large scope, into looking at only the industrial scope, even LSE did make much of a difference for me. I became the national focal point for the COP27 in the industrial area. I'm handling all the environmental and eco-industrial zones. My individual project as eco-industrial zones now is something into application funded by UNIDO, GIZ, and World Bank. So let me tell you, I mean, you're going to be even witnessing your career moving into a very different and I mean, it's beautiful. I can't say enough about it. And I think you guys are lucky, because I mean, Nelly knows very well that just staying for 2 years in Egypt is much better than asking you to stay for 2 years in the government. So I guess you still guys are very lucky with that. Anyways, I mean, I'm all here, and whenever you need something, whenever you need to speak about anything, let me know. And trust me that I mean, last week we had our call with we had our, I mean, we have 4 calls, four annual calls together with my LSE colleagues, and we still update each other on everything that's going on. And it's not going to be professional. It's going to be professional and social and emotional and everything. It's something else. So trust me when I say it's worth fighting for it. To be honest, really worth it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ahmed. This was extremely passionate, and I think everybody could hear in your voice and could see how much you enjoyed the program and how much you've benefited from it. And like I said, I think you're the best ambassador for that program. So with that, I think we're ready to look at some of the questions on the Q&A panel and get to you all on that. So Nadia, I think this question could be to you. It's from Elizabeth, who is in the process of applying to the regular MSc in cities. So not the executive program, I guess the full-time program maybe, or the normal MSc, not the executive. So does the scholarship extend to this program? That's her question.
Unfortunately, the scholarship doesn't extend to this program. It's strictly for the executive MSc in cities. But I do recommend looking at our website, seeing if there are any similar scholarships that are offered. Maybe not in cities, but we do offer. We do have a development program, and we do have similar scholarships that you could maybe look at, but not something that's exclusively in cities. The only one that would be offered is the executive masters in cities.
All right, thank you. Mohammed Hani, he talks about you, Ahmed. He says that you've proven to be a huge success on your professional life. He wants to ask you about the best practices you used, the tools he was provided, and how LSE closed the gap between expectations and applications on the real ground within the global economic crisis. So this is like a
perfect. That's a perfect question.
For you.
I mean, that's a perfect question, but I think it would take us days to answer. So let me do the short version. Short version is I come from, I mean, before even joining Ministry of Investment and International Cooperation, I was part of the Ministry of Trade and Industry. and I was always on the industrial side. So to me, it was always about increasing your industrial contribution to the GDP and increasing your exports, the industrial exports. Things started making a difference when you started looking at, I mean, this both social and environmental and governance issues, which I think I was very lucky because this is the time when COP was coming to Egypt, ESG was being introduced. So I was kind of lucky. The tools did help because you started looking at a bigger picture. You're no more looking only at the economical value, but you're also looking, of course, at the social and environmental values. That being said, in times when we are discussing something like the global economic crisis, which is mostly because of energy. So we're looking at renewable energy, we're looking at other sources of energy, we're looking at alternative fuel, all of this that I don't think I would have been very much aware of if I wasn't in the LSE program. I mean, I wouldn't even be interested, to be honest. That did create the interest because they will show you that it's not about only urban cities and transportation and everything. No, it's about everything. Even if you want to start a factory, if you want to start a hotel, you will still need to look at the transportation means. You will still need to look at their housing needs. You will still need to look at their overall arching, like education for the children, for them, housewives, support. It's a much bigger spectrum. So if you know what you're looking for, I'm sure you're gonna find it over there, definitely.
Great, thank you so much, Ahmed. Okay, Maggie. Yes, Maggie, you're right. There is a mistake there in the timeline because it doesn't end in June 2024. Maybe Nermeen could tell us the exact dates, the correct dates. October 2023 is when we start, and then
Yes,
the program lasts until, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, sure, that's right. So the program begins, as Nelly said, in October 2023. The dates I think that you're referencing are the session dates that we've got listed on our website. So those are the dates that teaching takes place, and those are the dates that you will need to be in London. So, but that's the program doesn't conclude at the end of June, right? So that's when live teaching takes place, but the program is actually broken down into blocks that take place over the 12 months. And then that's followed by the urban consultancy program, which is 6 months. So that's where you get the 18 months. Once you've added up the module blocks and the consultancy program, the project, it results in an 18-month program. And so if you were to do the math, based off of this year's program, you would finish off finish off teaching in June. It would be followed by assessments, and then you would embark on the 6-month project, which would take you through, the deadline is usually around February of the following year. So you would conclude the program in February 2025.
Yes, thank you for clarifying that. All right, Riham has a number of questions. So, okay, so she's asking if the work experience that she has is 8 years and not the required 10 years. How do we look at that? So, Nadia, did you want to answer that question, or?
I mean, I can answer that from an LSE perspective. Unfortunately, it is a firm 10 years.
Okay.
And so if you are, and it's 10 years from the start of the program. So unfortunately, that would mean that you are not quite eligible, but you were almost there. So I would encourage you to stay in touch with us. We have a series of other options that are available that you might be interested in, or we do public lectures and run various events. So I would encourage you to stay in touch with LSE cities and then come back to us and to Sawiris once you've met that minimum requirement.
Okay. Well, actually, Riham has two other questions that could be useful also for everyone else. One is about previously receiving an Sawiris scholarship. So with people who have already received a scholarship from the Sawiris Foundation, would they be eligible to apply to this program?
I mean, you are eligible to apply for the program, but usually what we do is we're weighing maybe someone that hasn't had any sort of opportunity that is similar versus that has the same credentials and same everything as you do. Then we would tend to lean towards the student that hasn't had that sort of opportunity before, just in an effort to make sure that everyone has equal opportunity. So you would be eligible to apply, but I guess it would be a pool-to-pool basis on whether the other people within your cohort, like of the applications, have gotten similar opportunities or not.
Great, thank you, Nadia. And then there's a question about the English language requirement. Would someone who graduated from AUC, the American University in Cairo, be exempted from the English language requirement? Maybe Nermeen could answer that for us.
Yeah, I can't speak to the Sawiris Scholarship, LSE-Sawiris Scholarship application requirement, but certainly as far as LSE is concerned, unfortunately, wouldn't be exempt, and that's a university level decision. Unfortunately, that's not a decision that the program makes.
Okay.
Guys, can I come in at this point a bit? At the question, actually.
Sure.
Yeah, of course.
Well, my advice is, first, I think, Nermeen, I was an AUC graduate, and I remember clearly during my interview, they did not need much of my English language qualifications after the interview. I mean, it seemed obvious, and I was exempted. But I was exempted because of the interview, not because of I'm an AUC graduate. So that's part one. Part two, that's my advice to Riham is, yeah, you still need to apply, because even if they ask for 10 years, I'm sorry to say this, Nermeen, but to be honest, sometimes having 8 years of experience, that would be always to the judgment committee. And I wouldn't give up on that, because honestly, my graduation degree was, I did not score 3.2 on GPA, but they did slide on that because of my professional experience. So it will matter how much they see of the value of your professional experience that you will add to your colleagues and to your cohorts during the masters and during the course. Riham, personally, I would still pursue it, to be honest.
All right, thanks, Ahmed. I'm not sure if there are more questions. I don't see any on the Q&A or on the chat. But in case you do think of other questions, we just posted also on the chat the email address for the program and our phone number, which you can call or WhatsApp. Okay, this is what usually happens when there are no more questions. Something appeared, but this is the Riham only thanking us and thanking Ahmed for encouraging her. So thank you, Riham. Like I was saying, on the chat we have all the contacts for the program, and we have all the links here for you for the application and the both applications, the scholarship application and the program application. So please feel free to reach out. This session has been recorded as well, so we will be posting it on our Newton Education Services pages. I believe the Sawiris Foundation will also post the recording. So please also feel free to share it with others who you know would have liked to attend the session tonight. I think, okay, yes, Iman is asking if we can share the links and the information through email, which we will do. We will send out an email to everyone who signed up for the session with all the information we put on the chat tonight. We'll make sure to do that, and we'll also send you the link to the recording in the email as well. So with that, I want to thank my fellow panelists. Nermeen, Nadia, thank you. Ahmed, thank you very much. Heba and Nihal from our team, thank you as well for all the hard work. And we are looking forward to receiving excellent applications. So please keep your questions coming, and good luck with the process. Thank you all so much. Have a good night.